Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. For today's video, we're going to be mapping out Bitcoin, analyzing the prior all-time highs because we're currently sitting on top of them as support. Is this level going to hold before we get continuation? I'm going to break that down. We're also going to be jumping into the Ethereum chart. We're currently sitting on top of support. We're going to map out what happens if we lose it, how to play the market from here, what is going to happen with the altcoins as a whole, and then we're going to be finishing up, taking a look at each one of our prior cycles. We're going to go back and look at the first cycle for the altcoins, and we're going to come and apply it to what we're seeing today and how similar a lot of these cycles are playing out, ultimately finishing up with the Bitcoin dominance and when this rotation is going to take place. Guys, at any point you find value, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. If you want to see anything I'm investing in long term, links are in the description to go ahead and sign up on my website. Right off the bat, guys, I wanted to start out here with Bitcoin because as I've been updating you guys around this prior all-time high level, Bitcoin has just been consolidating right around it the entire time. The good news is, for the first time, in a while, we've actually retested it and we've held it as support. So as it stands currently in the shorter time frames, we can see that the price is currently sitting on top of that as support. So as long as we're above this level, like we are right now, I think that we're going to see continuation. Now, if this was to reject, we started closing and we actually flipped below this level, then at that point we would be looking for more downside. But I think that our confirmation is just going to revolve around this level because we've hit it and reacted as resistance and support so much. It's encouraging that we've made a breakout back above it, but we got to keep in mind that we've done this a few different times and we've never really been able to hold any of the breakouts up to this point. They always get kind of stuffed really quickly, but I will say this one looks to be the most likely that it is going to hold. Out of all of these, this is the one that looks the strongest. We had a big move to the upside, came all the way back up to these range highs, and now even though we got a big capitulation, all we did was come right back down to retest that support. And so if we're going to be holding here as support, I find it likely that we're going to see continuation, because when we're zooming out and we're looking on a bigger time frame, getting out to a weekly, to me the weekly doesn't really look like we're very bearish. We've retested these prior all-time highs. We had the range high at 65K, and then we had the highs all the way over at 69,500. We can pretty much see that we rejected off of the all-time highs, and we've kind of been rejecting below those for a while. But we did retest that 65K top and just pretty much landed flush on that as support. So even though we were below the all-time high, we were sitting on top of support of the 65K level. So this entire move has just been us ranging. And don't get me wrong, guys, we could still see Bitcoin pull back and come back down and maybe even retest the low end of this range before we break out. I'm not going to be surprised to see that. The big thing I want you guys to be aware of is the fact that we have officially gotten back above those prior all-time highs, and as it stands, the price is holding. So until we reject, until we get a big breakdown, I only think that this is going to be lining up for continuation. And when we jump into those shorter time frames, it all really revolves around where we're at right now. As long as we're holding above this support, I think we're bullish, and so we're going to be paying attention to that $69,000 level. And the next thing we need to talk about here was Ethereum. With Ethereum, we also had a pullback, but the big thing I want you guys to be aware of is how we're still just holding the same support of the prior high that we were at. When we first started this correction, we made our first lower high and then a lower low. At the top of that lower high is where we're still just consolidating on support. This is also taking us to the lower high of the beginning of our bear market, right? When we first started topping up here, we broke down and it was this first lower high that we're also kind of sitting on top of as support. So if we're going to end up seeing continuation, I don't see a scenario where ETH goes any lower than where we're at. I honestly think that we're just going to reverse off of here and start going up. However, if the price of ETH was to drop all the way back down to the bottom of this green box, and then we get a little bit of a bounce and we start rejecting off of the lower high as well as this prior lower high from the most recent consolidation that we're at that point I would anticipate that we would be coming all the way back down to probably 3,100, get almost a fully retrace before we start that next leg up. That would be the most likely scenario that I would see fit. But as long as we're just sitting on top of this support as well as the lower high from the last cycle, I honestly just only see a scenario where this is going to end up being more of a bull flag consolidation before we start breaking out. But it's really just going to revolve around Bitcoin. If Bitcoin holds the support and gets continuation, ETH is for sure going to do the exact same thing. I think that ETH is just going to outperform because now we have the ETF, now we have a little bit more of an emotional reason for people to go buy it. And I think a lot of these people that missed out on Bitcoin, seeing how quickly it went up with its ETF approval, are going to flock to Ethereum to kind of jump in and feel like they missed out now that they can reverse their mistakes. Coming over here, guys, I wanted to go all the way back and look at the first cycle for the altcoins because I think it's such an important time where we're at today, analyzing how the altcoin rotation takes place. What do the prior cycles look like? How have they played out? And what does it look like it's going to be playing out again into this current bull run? Because what I have seen is us repeating the same pattern. All the market cycles have been very similar for the altcoins. And I think that where we're at today is at the same moment that we were at right before that 2017 cycle, where we had just gone through all of this accumulation, broke out of our bear market bottom, retested as support, trended sideways. And then once we got that breakout into new all-time highs, that was really where the bulk of that cycle set in. And we know that the last cycle, or what I should say 2017, was so much more powerful than the last cycle. And it was really fueled because of all of the different demand with Ethereum. We had so much more retail involvement in 2017 versus the last cycle. And so when I'm looking at where we're at today, I see a lot of those same similarities, where all we've really done is make our first breakout, and we're sitting on top of that prior cycle as new support. It reminds me so identically of the same consolidation that we had right before that 2017 bull run, where we were just consolidating right here on top of these prior all-time highs, and then that's really what set in the bulk of that parabolic rise. Now, I think that there's a lot of similarities that are telling us that this cycle is going to continue to play out in these same ways. When we zoom out, we can see how at the same point of us going into that new all-time high, we're pretty much just doing the same thing. It's just a little bit of a longer version of this consolidation. But if we come over and actually take a look at the shifting point for these altcoins, remember guys, every single time that the Bitcoin dominance tops and we make these big sell-offs, it's always when the altcoins start running the hardest. And so if we look back in this cycle, we can go to the first one. This was our last cycle for the altcoins, right? This was the prior all-time high. This is how high we went. This was the prior cycle for the altcoins in 2017. This was the prior all-time high, and this is how high we went. So obviously there was a huge difference in the size of these cycles. Now, a lot of people have written off the potential entirely that we're going to have another one of these type of bull runs, and I think that that is something that's just false. I believe what we're about to get is the repeated version of that same fractal, and when we come over and look at the Bitcoin dominance, we can see that it also lines up with this fact. If we come all the way down and go to a linear scale and we look at that 2017 cycle, this is where Bitcoin dominance topped, all the way up here on the chart for the Bitcoin dominance. This is where that topped. And this is the upside that took place shortly after. An absolutely massive cycle, way bigger than anything that we've ever seen up to this point. But you guys got to keep in mind that the reason why that 2017 altcoin cycle was so big was because the entire time Bitcoin dominance was falling to new all-time lows. Now we can come over and look at our last cycle. Was it big? Yeah, I'd say it was big. But when we're looking at the Bitcoin dominance, this was the entirety of that last cycle. Compared to 2017, you're looking at like maybe half, maybe 40% of that entire move. And that's why when we're comparing the two cycles, this one went much shorter. If we're looking at the prior all-time high down in here, you can't even see it by the time you're getting up to the cycle top. It's not even existing on the chart anymore. Versus, in our last cycle, you can very easily see that. But the difference that we have here is this last cycle just came back down and consolidated right on top of those prior all-time highs. Exactly the same that we did over in here before that 2017 bull run. And I think that we're at the same point. We're at this consolidation into a new all-time high, building a support floor before we get that big blow off top into a new all-time high. And all of our charts are telling us this. What we're looking at here, because the last cycle was so small, because it didn't do anything, most people are anticipating that we're never going to have a 2017 type alt run. And most people, just to be honest, weren't even around for 2017. They weren't there in 2016. They don't even know what that looked like. So they have absolutely no reference point going into our current cycle. But when we're looking at our long-term all-time graph of the Bitcoin dominance being in a massive descending triangle, right? We have lower lows, we have lower highs, and a horizontal support. That's a big descending triangle. Once this breaks down, you're talking a breakdown and a brand new all-time low for the first time since that 2017 cycle. So is it coincidental that the charts are showing that we're about to see this massive drop in Bitcoin dominance, the first time since 2017 that we actually go into a brand new all-time low? And when we're looking at the long-term basis of all of our altcoins, they're following the exact same fractal right before that 2017 bull run. I don't think it's coincidental that all of these factors are lining up. We're seeing basically the most bullish setup in all of our cycle's history playing out in real time. And the good news is this is going to be the first time that the Bitcoin dominance goes into price discovery to the bearish sense. And so if the altcoins The price action looks a lot like that beginning stage of 2017, and we're looking at the Bitcoin dominance also looking a lot like where we're at before that 2017 bull run. I think that there's a significant amount of data telling us that once this cycle tops for the Bitcoin dominance, we're going to see another one of those 2017 type bull runs. And might I remind you guys, every time we look at this, it absolutely dwarfed anything that we've ever been a part of. Monumentally, it doesn't compare. There's absolutely no other cycle that we've been through that compares to that 2017 bull run. So when we're looking at the same similarities playing out once again, our entire last cycle was just that first higher high, that first little leg up before we start that much bigger move. What we're looking at here is the exact same thing as that 2017 bull market. Most of you guys weren't around to see how crazy that thing actually was, but I'm telling you guys right now that if this is the institutional cycle, and the institutions are going to need exit liquidity to actually take their profits and realize their gains, who are they going to need to get the markets to drive up in price so that they can sell? Retail investors. What was the difference between last cycle versus 2017? There wasn't retail investors for the most part. The last cycle was really small, guys. I can't tell you how small it was. Besides niche narratives being DeFi, NFTs, and like maybe a couple other things, there really wasn't a whole lot going on. This cycle is going to be much different. We're already seeing meme coins blowing up constantly before we've even gone into a new all-time high. There's way more money flowing around. Now we have presidents that are going and backing crypto. I just don't think that there's a better catalyst to see a 2017 type alt run. And when we're looking at the long-term charts, everything is telling us that we are about to get that massive move for the altcoin. So we don't want to be too over ahead of ourselves. We're still way below the all-time highs. We're still not even at the topping point of the Bitcoin dominance yet. Whether we get one more high or not, it doesn't change anything. Once this tops, I'm telling you guys, it's going to be the most profit that we're ever going to be able to probably generate in all market history, not just crypto. We've never seen markets like crypto. We really have to do our due diligence by capitalizing on the opportunity at hand. We don't know how many of these cycles are going to be around. And I have a lot of confidence that says because this is the institutional bull run, they're going to take heavy profits, and the next bear market's probably going to be a really bad one. We're probably going to see a significant drop in price. You know, people are assuming that because the last cycle only corrected like 78% instead of 85, that every cycle is going to correct less. I think that that's a bunch of crap. This cycle, we're going to have retail investments, we're going to have institutional investments, all paired with the people that are already here in crypto, blowing the ever crap out of the prices into new all-time highs. And the bear market that follows after that, I believe, is going to be really gnarly. I think it's going to catch people off guard in the same ways that it kind of did in that 2018 cycle. In 2018, a lot of altcoins completely got demolished. Most of them never returned. I think that we're due for another one of those, especially if we see this amount of money kind of coming into this cycle. If we're looking at the Bitcoin dominance coming all the way to like a 25 to a 20% clip, you know, you're looking at an absolutely monumental capitulation and a massive move for the altcoins. Look at all of this money that would be rotating into the altcoins. So I see nothing but the most profitable cycle of all time. It gets me excited because the more I study these charts, the more I can't be more all in. Like I have 3 cars. I'm at the point of selling 2 of them so I could just put more into crypto. I literally am all in. Like aside from some personal assets that I could sell, I couldn't be more all into crypto. And it gives me a lot of confidence because we're looking at truly the most remarkable buy opportunity, the biggest shifting point between institutions and retail and the people that have been in crypto that are finally going to realize all these gains. So I'm really excited, guys. I see a lot of bullish setups. Bitcoin's getting a buyback on support, holding the level that we needed to see it hold. Everything that we needed to see is playing out exactly as we needed to play out, and I'm just excited. So guys, if you found value in this, please do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss out on any of these updates. We kill the market. We're constantly nailing a lot of these calls. We've been right consistently the entire way up this move. So if you guys want to be able to follow anything I'm trading, buying, selling, trading, any altcoins I'm taking profits on at the end of the cycle, links are in the description to follow on my website. I post everything. You're going to be able to follow along with anything I'm doing with my money in crypto, even when I take profits on crypto and invest into other markets. You guys are going to be able to follow along. It's a one-time payment, lifetime access. You'll always have access once you're in. So if you want to check it out, links are in the description. Go ahead and sign up on my website. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. With that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. As always, peace out.